Adjourned.
Okay, it's 6:31. We'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with the prayer and pledge. I'll go ahead and lead us in the prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for bringing us here tonight. We just thank you for this opportunity to serve for the student body, staff in this community, Lord. We just pray that you be with us in our decisions that we make tonight and guide us to the best of your glory. And thank you for sending your son to die on the cross for us, Lord. And ask forgiveness for our sins. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. And we will kick things right off, recognizing the state track, state golf, and state tennis teams. Want to go do it over here?
Fine, we have, some state tractors here, and some are in Austin, and some are playing softball, and some are, I don't know where, nobody knows. But we'll take the ones that we got.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll start with track. Girls, we got Reese Redford. And how here we have Sean Fanland. Buckingham. Aiden Cavanaugh.
State golf, we got Brown Besner. Caleb Herzog. Bodie Ham. And Coach Josh Stanley. Yeah. Josh, go down the footsteps.
Oh.
Okay, last but not least, Jake Tennis, boys doubles, Sean Stanley and Rick Real. I just wanted to say that even going to a tennis match, even down in San Antonio, just wearing a Jayden shirt or a Jayden cap, it just draws attention nowadays. I think it was more a compliment on our kids and everything that they're into and the success that we've had the last few years. So that's a good feeling, and it's thanks to all the staff and the kids, and there's more to come to that, I know for sure.
Well, doing so good after Friday, we let y'all off for a couple weeks. You think it's about summer? Right. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job.
Okay. It's pretty awesome. Next, we'll go to the principal report.
Since the last time we met, student enrollment has not changed. Still the same. 52 in high school, 32 in junior high, 97 in elementary for 181 with 25 transfers. The reason part of them are not here is there's 11 of them. It's on down there. There's 11 of them at State UL Academics today and tomorrow. So a lot of them are there that would have been here for that portion. Above that, we did win the Region 2 UL academic meet in San Angelo. We, as Cody said a minute ago, we did not get the recognition there. They were not happy to have us in Region 1, and we did not get many applause except from ourselves, is what I was told, because they were not happy that we came to their from Region 1 to Region 2 and won their region. So that was exciting for the kids. It was a bit of a surprise to some because it's kind of scored, and we knew we were close, but you don't ever know till the end on some of that. So that was a neat thing. We got back from the state track meet the same way. We had a ton of kids there, and boys and girls. The boys team did finish second, and we had multiple medalists in multiple events, and we were well represented there. I'm proud of how the kids competed and the job the coaches did. I just talked about boys state golf. I believe it's been a while since we had a team in state golf. I don't know the exact time frame, but I believe it's been a while. Good thing I was not on the team, but we would not have advanced, guaranteed. And so, not a very good golfer, not near as good of a golfer as Mr. Coulter is. He has all that free time to play golf. No comment.
No more.
Kids did go to the FFA area convention in San Angelo, did very well. Had kids run for office, had the band they placed fifth, I believe, but very good time, had ball and competed and represented, well, they represented us very well there. And then last, I guess while we were in San Antonio for state robotics, I left off there. We were in Corpus for state robotics. Jesse was our first graduate this year, and so he graduated from SBC with an associate's degree, which is a good thing. That gets you a step in the door, and a good indicator of going forward to college and being successful at that realm. State tennis, again, Griff and Sean went and represented there, did well, won their first match and lost their second match, I believe, to the silver medalist. Did a good job there. Past week, we finally got to do the big event, and a really neat thing, on the level that we had our entire district kids and from all the way from elementary all the way to seniors going and serving, a lot of our elderly adults and getting to serve in that capacity, and the prizes that our kids and faculty and staff take in the community. So it was a really neat experience. It was a joy to get to go and do that. And, we did not have any major injuries, which is always a blessing. You're always worried when you go out on the work, but it was really, really neat and a really neat thing. I'm glad to experience that. Ms. Harrison's currently registering students for summer courses and getting all that lined out. Students will take dual credit and courses over the summer, and that also aligns to us going forward and making a master schedule for next year and figuring out what everyone's going to take. And so lots of bits and pieces coming in line. I did leave out robotics. I'll mention them. They did compete in Corpus 2 weeks ago, advanced to the finals and ended up fifth. Is that correct? Fifth place. And so did a really good job there. I believe that us, Naz, and Hart were the only 3 1A teams there in the 1A through 4A division. So did a great job competing there. And again, that was rescheduled and kind of spurred them. It was originally scheduled, got canceled, and So we also get points from that towards the Lone Star Cup. Also, the cup has not been updated since early January. The update's May 23rd, I believe. So we'll have an update with everything but baseball and softball on it. So we should have a really good idea after UIL Academics is over this week, where we stand. We were, number one, I sat down and visited the other day. Melissa and I were looking, I think we've gotten 24 more points since the last time that we've scored. So we should, set in good position with kids doing well down there, but you never know till the end. So I think we're poised with a strong finish, and hopefully we're able to win it this year. Schedule for the week, this is the most unique schedule. We've talked about this for months, but people think we're crazy looking at our calendar this week. Obviously Monday and Tuesday, they're at State UIL in Austin. On Wednesday night, we have a combo spring concert along with the athletic banquet. Thursday, we have the kindergarten senior walk that morning at 9:45, the academic awards high school academic awards at 10. We got out at 12:30, and then we have kindergarten and 8th grade graduation that evening at 6. And then Friday, we have a staff work day, and then we have high school graduation at 7 o'clock with project graduation following till 2 o'clock in the morning. That's the plan. And then we have Josh will be taking them on Saturday.
Houston.
To Houston, to the Holocaust Museum and
Yes,
NASA, and they're gonna camp on the beach, I believe. Do some camping, so that will be the academic trip that we finally worked in and got scheduled. So, again, lots going on this week as every week. So, but those are the activities we have going on for this week, and look forward to big crowds for graduation, celebrating our seniors and our 8th graders in kindergarten, and just, a great way to wrap it up, and a great way to have kids competing till the very, very end in Austin, for some state championships. So very, very proud of our kids and coaches and all the support we've had and everything that went on.
You, put you on the hot seat. I know you got some preliminary results from the academic meet in Austin.
Yes, sir.
In advance.
Yes, we did. We had several make finals. I know this morning was Colt and I'm drawing a blank. Colt. Melody advanced, and then, the accounting team finished second. And as we were talking about earlier, Zach had 408 points, which was he was the state champion with the best score tabulated 1A through 6A.
Wow.
And I believe my little sister was third.
Yeah.
So really proud of them. It's a really, really good start. Now we had Griff speaking this evening. We had some others in the finals, but we've advanced a lot to the finals so far today. So I think things are going really well. I have not, the UIL person has not answered my text or call today, which I didn't figure she would till later on. So
Who is it?
That's the reason Holly and I were late, because I was trying to cook pizza to get her up here to eat. So we had to eat pizza. I'm batching it.
I'll write them up for not responding to the boss.
So, she did not,
Wait a minute.
she's not, she responded to me this morning when I sent her a text that said good luck, but that's the end of our communication. So, again, super proud of our kids. Been a great year, and we're excited to wrap things up and start planning for another great one next year. Question for me?
It's probably good.
Oh, yes, prom was good. That's another, prom was good. Safe was good. Good. This guy came in, made it in on 2 wheels. What, you left at 4 o'clock in the
I
morning?
left Shreveport at 4 in the morning. And for you, for those of you that don't know, I was telling Lacey and Billy this morning, 4 a.m. on Saturday morning, downtown Shreveport, it's still a pretty hot place. They're still moving around.
Well, it's close to the casino, isn't it?
Still a lot of people on the street. Yeah.
One other thing I garnished from prom this year that I haven't other ones, and I've been to several at different places with kids and stuff, but I'll bet you 80% of the songs that were played, over half the kids were out there dancing the entire night. And that's not the way it is everywhere. Lots of sitting and watching at times, but they had a good time, danced the night away, and then, it was really good, really good, really neat. I think I did not experience it over here, but I think the space, what I heard, the space of the aux gym was much better. And it allows them to move around, but I think it was good. best dressed of the night, hands down was Garrison. I love his brother. He won, but man, he looked like he would fit back.
He owned it. He owned it.
He did own it. So,
I told him he dressed exactly like I did in high school, except he didn't have platform shoes. The only difference.
That's what I got. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right, mine, kudos to Keith for the transition to our new website. That's been a monster. But he's done a very nice and seamless job of moving us from one platform to the other. And I'll let you comment on that if you want to, what we can expect in the months to come, if you would like.
So here in the next, it'll probably be like after June 5th, after I get back from my other trip, I'll start pushing out to the community to start downloading the app. We still got a few more things we gotta fix on that part. And then, you know, the goal is next year to have that with the notifications on being how we send out info instead of remind. That was one of the goals in doing this progression, was to get rid of remind in the long run. And, so that will be coming down at some point. I've already kind of pushed that and told the staff to start getting that on their phones and ready, and we'll go forward from that direction. So far it's gone pretty smooth. A few things were missing, you know, after we went live, but, we were able to correct them and keep going. They've been really good to work with, the people have, so I've been very pleased with that, so.
So that'll be something like Mr. Humphries can update, and it'll go out to parents and everybody, and he won't have to text every time. He can just tell you, hey, send this out, you can put on. Okay.
Well, and the other benefit to it is like some of these posts he's doing now. He's doing them through an app called ThrillShare, and it's able to go to our website and Facebook at the same time without having to do two different posts. You know, there's a few kinks we're working out on the wording and how it lines things up, but, hopefully that's gonna be beneficial for all the coaches and anybody else. That way other people can do it instead of, you know, them looking to Mr. Humphries to be the social media manager for the entire district. And that's quite the undertaking with all the success we've had. So, you know, we're hoping to kind of get that spread out a little bit too, so.
You just click boxes, so it says Facebook, website, it has all these boxes, you just click the box with how you want to send it. If you want to call people, you click a box and it creates a computer generated voice, hey, we don't have school tomorrow, it will call, text, I mean, it's got everything, you just click boxes and it does it all at one time, instead of going, like you said, going from Facebook, going to Remind, it does it. It's really, really handy.
So I'll have to get Facebook.
You do not.
You don't.
You do not. It goes to Facebook, but you do not have, it goes, if you have the app and open the app is just like our website. You click on the app and it opens up, but if you have notifications, it'll notify you.
Okay.
I mean, we're not gonna notify everything, obviously, but the major things, the changes and stuff like that. It'll also be integrated to Google Calendar, and we'll have one calendar, and then when changes are made, right now, we've been running two calendars, and that's an issue at times, so. But it's very handy. And Keith's done a great job transferring stuff over, that's a headache.
A lot of stuff.
In small school districts and large, you never have enough bus drivers. And I would like to publicly be thankful to Tanya Raleigh and Angela Woolley this spring, since I've been here, since March the 5th. Numerous occasions we've had a need for someone to substitute in bus driving, and they've been very willing and helpful in that regard. Kayla Ragsdale loaded up a bus full of kids about 3 weeks ago, I guess, or maybe 4, and took them over. She had asked me early on if it would be okay to take some kids over to Snyder, to the healthcare facility, and get a walkthrough tour shadow kind of thing. And I said, absolutely. And I'm thankful for her for doing that and letting some of our kids see what, as far as the workforce goes, that's one of the hottest and highest paid ones that our current students would be looking at, because a bunch of old farts like me, that's recorded now, isn't it? Old people like me are gonna have to have a lot of people dosing my medication and helping me as time goes by. And then kudos to Stephanie Carpenter and Kevin Chisholm for pulling off the big event. Really, more of it goes to Stephanie, because Kevin has been gone to one athletic thing after another. But, the big event is a very, very special thing. Not many schools can do it. Not many schools would even attempt to do it. And it's just a special bonding thing for our, community and school district. And, it's a blessing to be able to be close enough to watch it, see it happen. That's all.
I've got some feedback on that from people who moved here. They're like, that is so neat that
Oh,
you
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
That is,
And I can tell you, from working in those large schools in Austin, the principal would say, no, we're not. We're not gonna turn them loose on you. But here it
it'd be
works.
gone.
Come back.
Thank you, sir. Okay, there's no public comments. We will move to the learning optimization for all.
Discussion item, I emailed you all when this came out. So you'd have a heads up. 22-23 accountability ratings by the Texas Education Agency. That it's been locked up in court for 2 years now, and finally, I got clearance to release these things. So, here's the big picture, the summary, which is the important part. And, we got an A, and our neighbors did not. And, I saw data from the Texas Rural Education Association, which is, we're part of that, which is rural schools from all over the state. Only 9% of their members were rated an A, and as a general rule, small schools get better ratings than the mid-size and higher and large schools. So it's a good thing, but I'll shut up and let the instructional leader, Jamie, speak to whatever parts of this you want to, and I'll scroll, Jamie, if you'd like. You just tell me what you want.
I'll just mainly go over the breakdown on the first, kind of how it's scored. We talked about, prior, 70% of the score comes from star performance there on the very first, page. 70% of our score comes from that. We were at 96 on that scale score. And what it says is to get an A, the state wants you to have 90% of your students approach, 60% meet grade level, and 30% masters. JGISD, test district-wide, we were 93% of our students, approach grade level, 67% of them met grade level, and 24% mastered. And so that gets us to that A. So 70% of your score, 70% of that comes from that. The second thing is college and career military readiness, and what it looks at, are you getting industry-based certifications in your school? How are your kids doing in college coursework? How are they doing in dual credits? How are they doing in CTEs? And are kids are enlisting in the military, and how are they doing? So that's kind of another way to look at it. A lot of schools, I was telling Lacey a while ago, a lot of schools were using the CCMR, the industry-based certifications to circumvent it. Well, the state went back and looked, and they did away with, I believe, 70 industry-based certifications because they were too easy to get. And so it's kind of a game there. And so, again, and the third thing on that first page was our graduation rate, which we had 100%. So you take those together, we had 100, 100, and a 90, and it ends up giving us a 96 for 70%. As far as progress and the second domain, you're going to look at school progress, and so it depends upon academic growth. And so academic growth is a little harder for us to achieve. It's kind of like if you got a bunch of guys that are 6'4", and then you measure them again the next year, and they're 6'4.5" or 6'4", they're not going to grow a whole lot because they're already really tall. When you're mastering grade level, and you're doing really well in your scores, it's really harder to get a growth measure because you're already scoring well. You're much more likely to not grow or go backwards than you are to grow. And so that's a little bit tricky when you look at a high performing school. And so we did get a 70 in that area. Your relative performance school progress, it takes our ECODIS for 42.5% ECODIS, and it finds other schools, 9 other, I think 9 other schools that are applicable and like us, and it compares how we're doing to them. And so it's fairly close, and it generally ends up being schools in your area. And so again, in that area, we were a scale score of 95, which means we did as well or better than 95% of the schools that we were compared to. And so that's another good sign. And then closing the gaps is the last one that you look at, and it looks at different student groups based upon racial groups, various ways or various different ethnic backgrounds. And it compares them, it deals with the Every Student Succeeds Act. And so you look at areas such as achievement, graduation rates, all of it together. Again, we were a scale score of 97. And so when you look at school progress and closing the gap, what it lets you do, we get a 0 for school progress, which you really don't. It lets you pick the highest of the two scores, and that goes at your 30%. So if we were the other array around a 97%, a 97 for school progress and a 95, you get to pick the better of the two scores for that accountability rating. And so, with that, we end up with an overall score of 96. And like Nelson said, very good, very solid. I mean, and again, that's data from 2023. Now, the interesting thing was, in 24, they changed all the rules, and came up with new STAR tests, new STAR questions. If you're aware about House Bill 4, now they're talking about doing away, with STAR testing. So, who knows where we will be, but that system doesn't exist anymore. Exactly. They came up with new rules and new ways of doing things, as far as the new accountability system, and it might be another 5 or 6 years before we see an accountability rating. It's held up in the courts long enough. So,
Correct.
who knows? But, again, apples and oranges compared to others, we're doing very well. Kids have done very well, and, that's something to be proud of, and great job to our faculty and staff in 2023 as to what they achieved. Proud of that. It's good. Did I leave anything else? And I didn't go over all 31 pages, but that's essentially, how they get that.
So, Mackenzie and I had a conversation about school board training and restoring school board training. I know you all led that topic, but I'm an authorized provider of school board training. And, one of the trainings that you all are required to get from time to time is called Evaluating and Improving Student Outcomes. And so what Jamie was just talking to you about is the way the accountability system works, and that's part of that training. Which, as I told Jamie not too long ago, when I was the principal here in probably 1996, Kinsey was still in the hallways. And when the first version of the accountability system came into being, it's when the legislature decided, we got to measure what those schools are doing, so we'll know if they're any good. And my wife will tell you that I called a faculty meeting and I stood in front of the faculty and I said, I guess we're going to have to play their game. And Jayton has been playing their game well since then. I mean, you see the plaques on the wall. But I also said this to Jamie more than once. I view this as like the opening height in the high jump. Yeah, we got to clear it. Yeah, we got to do it. But our aim is for something more bigger, higher. And having our kids be successful at this is okay, good. But we really, I think, need to be focused on what will make them productive, happy, successful citizens over a lifetime. And I think it goes beyond math, science, English, social studies. I believe that. That was a sermon, and it wasn't on the agenda. My apologies, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next, we'll move to the update school health advisory councils.
Well, we got a visit by the Region Center folks about 3 weeks ago, I guess. And so there's a school health advisory council called the SHAC, which is a state requirement. And then there's a district wellness committee, which is a requirement of the federal government. They can't be intertwined, can't be the same, but we have to take care of meeting regularly and checking the boxes and crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And I asked Matt the other day if he would serve on the wellness committee, because it's required membership of different kinds of people in different roles. And so that stuff is happening, it will happen. As I've told Matt and the others that I asked to serve, I'll make it as pain-free as I possibly can. And just like I try to make this stuff pain-free as I can for you all. But just be aware of that stuff is rolling, but we're trying to take care of those things. First grade teaching position is open, and as of this afternoon, I got another application for that this afternoon, so we're sitting at 12 applicants right now. I emailed you all the other day just to kind of give you a heads up. It's always trickier in a small school when you have local candidates, because it can turn into a political thing rather than an exercise of trying to find the most skillful professional. So, just, be aware, I'm running point on that one, and we'll probably conduct interviews the first week after school is out. Because most of those people are active teachers too, and they're trying to close their classroom in the school this week as well. But, I would like to believe that we can bring a recommendation to you for hire on our June 16th board meeting. That's what I would like to do. Brooklyn Coulter, that works in the daycare facility, left her resignation with me about 2-3 weeks ago, I guess. She and her family are moving to Slayton, I think is right. Getting closer to his work, is my understanding. So I've talked to Melissa, and we'll go about trying to fill that position. That's a at-will staff position, so it's not as tricky as hiring a professional position. But we'll take care of that in June sometime. I guess we're down to consent items, Cody, but I would like to make a comment when you get ready to go to that. If y'all don't, unless y'all have questions for me. On the consent item, of course, you'll see the minutes of the last meeting. On the financial reports, there's a couple of things I'd just like to draw your brief attention to. Judge Coulter sent, oops, that's not the one I wanted. Judge Coulter sent this to me last week. Can you see this thing, Matt?
Oh, that's good.
The permanent school fund. Lane had told me that he and Val had started this document tracking year by year by year. What is in the permanent school fund that the county commissioners control. They control those purse strings, but they really can't, the money can't be spent on anything other than here. And it can only be spent on capital improvements, except for the interest off of this money, off the money that can be spent on other things. And then we got a county commissioner in the room here as well. And I visited with the county commissioners a couple of times. My intention is to visit with them occasionally and kind of keep them in abreast of what we're doing here. But as you can see, in 2019, that balance was about 4 million. And this is deposits. This is new money that's coming in each of these years. So it's not a cumulative total. And then in 2020, it dropped a little bit. Of course, that was pandemic year, COVID year. 2021, it jumped back to 3 million of deposits. 22, over 7 million in deposits. 23, 6 million in deposits. Last year, 11.5 million in deposits. And look at what's dropping into the bank every month so far this year. Over $1 million every month this year. So what does that mean for us is we've decided that we're going to be talking about this later. We're going to try to build our softball baseball complex with these monies. If this money keeps falling in here at this pace, the price tag we put on that RFP that you all will be looking at was $5 million this time. At this pace, we'll put $7 million in that account before $7 million more dollars in that account before this year is even over. So that thing's climbing. As we'll be talking about later, we'll talk about whether or not it's important for us to go out for bond measures, because there's certain things obviously that we can't purchase. And I want to show you one other thing on the monthly payments. Lacey, won't blur your vision too much, but I made a boo-boo on here, and I'm glad she caught it. If you looked at this, I don't know if you looked at it. I think I'm looking at the right one. Bunch of 34, wasn't it?
But it was in the budget, the finance 3050.
Oh.
You'd marked it on there.
Okay,
in the board report. Comparison of the revenue to.
there it is, there it is. When I was scrolling down through there, and when she gives me these things, what I look, for is anomalies, unusual over expenditures or unusual under expenditures based on this last column here. And, I, mistakenly pegged that as people transportation. I just laid that off on loading kids up on the bus so many times on the other extracurricular things, and that's not the case. Lacey pointed out, that's really because of the purchase of that little bus that we made last month. Was it last month or month before? So that's why that was running hot, and that'll be reflected in a budget amendment. Or July probably?
Yes, we may start a few next month.
Okay, anyway, I wanted to point that out to you. Other than that, I don't have anything I would like to bring your attention to as far as the consent items.
Did you say the total was in that permanent?
The total in the permanent right now is pinging right against 27 million.
Anybody have any questions over any of the budget minutes? We'll need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items, or the consent items, or maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
I'll second.
Cody makes a motion, Kenzie seconds, all in favor?
All right, thank you all.
Next, we'll move on to action item resolution regarding ranking and selecting construction manager at risk for the softball baseball complex.
Yes. So you all know that, we advertised, after our last board meeting for construction manager at risk. I won't replay all that stuff, but what we were doing is trying to cast a broader net and see if we could catch more fish. And we caught a bag full of fish. And so those came in on Friday at 4 o'clock, and, I was conveniently in Shreveport, so Kelsey had to stay and visit with some of those construction people when they came in. But, and I'll make it worth their time. I'll get even, but, so what you saw now is at each of your places, is the 9 responders to that proposal that we received. And, of course, the proposal has some pretty specific kinds of requirements. You know, you gotta show us this, you gotta show us this, you gotta show us this. So each of those look like that. What is on the agenda tonight is an action item, but I'm gonna put an asterisk on that. We're gonna look at these 9 things. Cody and Andy Vargas and Keith and I and Stephen Drewell, our architect, he beamed in through Zoom with us this afternoon. Rather than you all having to dig through each of these things one at a time, what we try to do is do a little bit of the homework ahead of time in the interest of saving your time. So let me show you what we created. In that request for proposals, it's clearly stipulates people that are applying for this construction manager role. When you send this thing to us, we're going to be scoring it. The school board is going to be scoring it according to the price and fee, according to the reputation and your experience, according to the quality of the goods and services we can see that you've provided, according to the safety record that you have in this role, according to your proposed people, particularly project manager, construction superintendent, and as Stephen Drewell pointed out today, whomever this construction superintendent is, he or she, that's the person that'll make the horse run or get us mired in mud. I mean, that's the person that causes things to happen and happen well or not. And Kinsey can probably remember the construction superintendent we had at Guthrie when we were dealing with those projects and. But, whether, financial, the company's has the financial capacity to do this, whether or not, they have the ability to complete on time, and, what their past relationship is with us. And according to the RFP, each one of these things had a point value assigned to it. So what Cody and Andy and Keith and Stephen and I did this afternoon is we went through all these things. And Stephen Drew, thankfully, Stephen asked us for the electronic version of these things, and he put it into a tool that he has to run calculations. Because if you look on one of these things it'll be
Second and third page.
It'll be on the page that says proposal form, right at the front. It's basically the summary, but what it does is give you the numbers where they're gonna say, this is how we're gonna charge you the money. And so it'll say, pre-construction services, general conditions, cost estimate, and that's usually in a percentage. And then they'll say total cost, for the construction manager. And then they'll say percentage of the inclusive of all markups and stuff. And then at the very bottom line, it'll say, if you save any money, when the project's over, if you came in under budget, if you save some money, how much does the CMAR take home and how much does the school district take home? And some of them, you'll see when you look through these, most of them say, well, the CMAR is not going to take any savings. We're going to leave it with the school district. But some of them, one of them even says 80% here. If you save money, we're going to take 80% of every dollar. Lacey's saying, what? I know. But anyway, my point is this. Stephen's calculation tool factors all that stuff together. And so that's how we came up with these numbers on this top row. So if 25 is the golden goose on this one, then 7B commercial was the one that knocked it out of the park. And then Farr had a 20, Collier had an 18, Henthorne had an 18, Tyner had an 18. So you'll know how these numbers got here. But all we were doing was just some preliminary work on your behalf. Okay, because you own the power to make this decision. All we did is some preliminary homework, and what it shows is our preliminary homework, these that I have in yellow were the ones that were the highest score. When we take a look at the whole picture. Now, I would like to say this before I turn you all loose on your homework assignment. Tyner is the company that finished our football stadium. They were on site and they had their equipment here a year ago when this RFP went out before. They wanted to participate, but were denied because they didn't know the proposal had been publicized and they were told they could not turn one in late. I was kind of surprised that they came back because I am told that they were rightfully a little peeved because they had the people and equipment already here. All they had to do is move across the street and go to work. But so I was thankful to see that they put a proposal in. So what you're looking at then in your pile, and it's not in any particular order, you're looking at all 9 of these things. And you're looking at the numbers that I'll call it our committee this afternoon as we were digging and scratching through. If you see something that you think among these numbers is off, if you have reputation, I mean, if you know something about some of these companies that you think a number that we put here is way out of line, well, it's within the power of the school board to set what these numbers are. They are fuzzy. I mean, a lot of it is subjective decision-making for sure. I mean, for instance, the CMA's proposed personnel. Well, And some of them, you're gonna see some very handsome looking superintendents that have 15 years of experience. And on the next one, you'll see an old one looking like me that has 33 years experience. What, do you judge them on their mustache, or do you judge them on the number of years they had experience, or do you, I mean, it's a very subjective thing. So I'm gonna turn you loose for a few minutes, take a look, and you can ask questions of me, or I'm assuming Keith or would not mind responding, and Cody, I'm assuming would not run. Bottom line is this, and I'll say this too. Henthorn is the company that built your concession stand at the end of the football field. Tyner is the one that built your football stadium. You're pointing at something.
They also did the front entrance. and-
Henthorn them, they built it or they bid it?
They did it.
They built it, okay? And you'll notice we got a proposal from Ohio, we got one from Georgia, got one from Allen, Texas. And I wasn't surprised to see some of those, because when we advertised in the Spur and the Abilene and Lubbock papers, I call them brokers, construction brokers. They're watching those things, and so they immediately push it to people that they've worked with, because they want to scam a little bit of money, you know, kind of like a middleman thing. So I wasn't surprised that we got proposals from some of those other places. Ask me questions. I see a question on Mackenzie's mind.
Yes, can you tell me about the scoring on that reputation and experience? Is that from people here who have heard of them, or is that things the architect had heard, or?
Both,
Okay.
both. So like on Henthorn, we know, and as the conversation unfolded, I remember Trigg was the superintendent here when that was being built. And I can remember him telling me on occasion that it was causing him some significant heartburn. Now, so we had that experience, like on Tyner building the football stadium. Keith worked very closely with, I forgot the construction manager, the superintendent's name.
Right.
Ryan. But Keith had very good vibe and experience with that person. So to answer your question, is very subjective. It was very helpful to have Stephen Drewell on that call with us today, because he knew, and his company had worked with a number of these people, so that flavored the reputation and experience part, that flavored the quality of goods and services part. The record of safety is kind of hard to dig out of those documents. The personnel, Stephen knew some of them, not all of them. The financial capacity, when you look at through some of those things, you'll see that some of the companies have done $1 million project here, a $1.5 million here, a $500,000 project here, nothing above 3 million. You'll look at some of these things, and some of show pages of schools, gymnasiums, fields, a lot of K-12 work. And then one in particular you look at and you don't really find any kind of schoolwork. You see Tractor Supply and Dollar General and other kinds of stuff, but not really school district stuff. So it's it's not an exact science. It's more like a cult art. But bottom line is, I'll turn you all loose and let you look at some of these things. You can ask me questions, and if we need to change these numbers, we will. And I'll say this one more thing before I put you to sleep completely. If you all want to pass the resolution, and then it's up to you, I'm not pushing you one way or the other. If you want to pass the resolution tonight for the thing to keep steaming, then the resolution basically says this: you're giving the superintendent the authority to start negotiating at the highest ranking company. And if I can come to terms and contract terms with them, then we seal the deal and we're off. If I can't come to terms with that number one ranked one, then I tell them I'm done visiting with you, I'm going to number two. And I try to negotiate with them, and if we seal a deal, then we're off and running. But basically that resolution is not you picking a company, it's you giving me authority to begin the negotiations to seal a contract and get the thing going. If you all, as 4 members, instead of 7, don't feel like you're comfortable doing that, and you wanna wait till next month, we can. I'm not pushing you. It's purely up to you. Okay, let me shut up and let you poke around in that stuff a little bit.
I was just gonna say one thing to look at, like on the Target, this was a big deciding factor, so he gave everybody the $5 million, this is what we wanna spend, that's it. So that they came through with these numbers on these percentages of what they're gonna make. But then if you look at the very bottom, this is what we're talking about. The savings split, this Target put 80% and 20% goes back to the school. So if they build it for $4 million, they get $800,000 and they'll send us a check for 200 for Wilson. That's how that would work. So that was a real kind of, yeah, we're not going that route, because Stephen had said that his experience with that, people are building fields up north by Amarillo. The company's doing it. They did this split, but they're putting like residential lights on a baseball field. Well, that's not gonna work. But they're finding the cheapest thing they can find for everything, the cheapest faucets in the bathroom, the cheapest toilets, the cheapest sinks, because they're trying to save every dollar they can, because they know at the end it's gonna come back to them. So they're gonna get the cheapest concrete guy, the cheapest everything. So there's a few of them that have that, none that high. There is a 50-50, and then I think there's a couple of 25-75.
Yeah, and I would like to say also, thanks to Cody and Andy and Keith and Stephen for, spending the time. We were at it most 2 hours, I guess. Doing it. Okay, I'll let you all poke at around in it, take a look at them, ask me questions, or ask Cody questions, or ask
Can
Keith
you open
questions.
that up where they can see the yellow and the name of the company up top? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay, yeah,
But they need to see the
Gotcha.
yellow.
gotcha, yeah. And if we wanna make, changes in these numbers, we can.
I think Collier has, there's like Tyner, they have one in Lubbock and Belen.
That would be correct.
Both of them do. But like, let's say Tyner, I'm kind of familiar with them, like, do they do baseball turf? I mean, they do turf, or they sub that
They've got
out?
some stuff in there.
Oh, are you asking if they'll do subcontracting of turf? Yeah, they'll subcontract the turf, I think.
Okay.
Is that past relationship with Owen, that's what the schools used them before.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's why the ones that you see, we got the 5, but we also, Matt, we're also kind of going on, Stephen Brule as an architect. I mean, he had some experience with some of them. I'm basically,
Yeah.
what's your experience? You know, you become comfortable with it. So that was part of what someone understanding.
Did you realize it? Do you go 380 sometimes when you head that way?
Oh, yeah.
Go to Newcastle? Do you realize Tyner's doing that new facility there?
No, I did not.
I didn't either, I just saw it.
I did not know, I didn't realize that.
Did we ask each one of these companies, like, when they can, their finish date? Like, start date, finish date?
Well, in the RFP, it stipulated start July, be done by July. But I had more than one of those people, come and look at the place, and I had, a couple say, I would like to come fly my drone over that property, and I've said, okay, fine, but I'll send you an aerial view because it's a builder's dream. It's flat land that's been in CRP. You got no buildings, no hills, no valleys, no rivers. Start building. And so a couple of those folks have indicated that they said that we should be able to finish that much quicker than July. Yeah, please, come on.
Does that say, does that fall into a rating? Ability?
No, well, complete on time,
Oh, that's.
Complete on time.
July.
but to your point, Cody, and that's one of the reasons, on this line here, financial capability. The people. So like Tyner, we know they've got deep pockets. And we know Collier has deep pockets. Some of these folks are a little smaller, operators. And, So the ones that ended up in yellow were the ones that we felt pretty confident had not only had the experience, and as I mentioned to you all back in March, the capacity to do the job is important. And as you look at the things that they have done in the past, you can kind of tell about their capacity.
Yeah.
They've got the people, the subcontractors, the equipment, they're ready to go.
I wasn't impressed with Henthorn when they were here. I'll just throw that out there. I said Henthorn, when they did this concrete in front of the school about 5 different times. They had to chip it out. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
they just couldn't get it right. And same way out there to concession stand.
Well, I remember Trigg being a little, irritated at them when they were working on this deal out here.
Connor's actually building Lindrose indoor football facility.
Are they really?
So, and Trig Overbowl is the reference.
Well, it scratched them off the list.
Okay.
I have no familial ties with any of these people, and none of them have offered me a kickback. You care. None of them have enough money to get me out of debt anyway, so.
So the big question is the price tag, is that in here? Are they all the same price tag?
Well, in our RFP, we said we want to build a softball, baseball complex. It's made up of this, and this, and this, and we believe it should come in at $5 million.
Okay.
And so on that first page, you'll see those people saying, we'll do it for 3% of that price tag, or we'll do it for 3.75% of that price tag.
Okay.
And as Cody pointed out, one of them didn't even go to the trouble to do the math. You know, they said, we'll do it for 4%, then who knows how much the money's gonna be. Which it's really not hard to do that calculation if you got a phone. Everybody has a calculator in their pocket now.
Cause I know through this last year, I never saw the design of what we were.
Right.
When the bond proposal, until after all that, then we started looking at bond, the complex, then we reorientated the fields. To kind of, then we could see kind of what we were doing,
Right.
and parking lots came in discussion, and well, it was concession stand bathrooms, we're pretty sure we need that, but other than that, we were talking about lights first year. I think we decided yes, lights on the first year, but the dressing rooms may have been I think we slashed the dressing rooms off of that, if I remember right.
So, okay, so, yeah, I see where you're going, and here's the deal on that. So what you're looking at, basically, what we ask for is, it amounts to a request for your qualifications. Are you qualified? Do you have the capacity to do a job like this?
Okay.
So if you all turn me loose to try to negotiate with someone tonight, then the next step will be me contacting Stephen Rule and him and me and the construction manager getting together and taking a look at things, because when I talked to Stephen back in March, and I said, we need to build a softball, baseball field. We're gonna have to do it out of permanent school funds. I think the commissioners will be okay with us going with $5 million price tag just to get a place to play, which I've said that to the commissioners on more than one occasion. We need a place to play. We can add embellishments later.
Okay.
We need a place to play. So, I think I'm answering your question.
Yeah.
The details, and I've told Stephen, we need to skinny the details to have a good turf field facility to play on soon as we can, and then we'll add stuff as we need to. So that'll be the next part of the conversation.
So the one that was in second, but the bar, they're doing all of the Benjamin's facilities right now.
They're doing what?
All of Benjamin's facilities.
Yeah.
And I think they're the one that they did like the fire department in Spur, is that?
You know, I don't remember.
Those first three, yeah.
That's for, I don't remember if it's Spur or Collier, but they're doing the building, new building in Spur, one in Dickens. They're doing like 4 small buildings, like large buildings around within a 30-mile radius of Dickens. So they're out here a lot. They probably know that Jason, well, didn't used to have any. Yeah, that's Collier, it's doing all the buildings. Chief, yeah. David Collier has gone, I've never met him. There's a brand office.
Kenzie, I noticed that Russ Horn is listed as a reference on a couple of,
Really?
the construction, the project manager or the superintendent, I forgot which one of the.
Interesting.
Proposal that was. And, Cody, you remember, this Cody over here, Cody Stanley, Jeff Baum contacted me more than once.
Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't know where he even worked.
Yeah, he represents one of these places.
This is the
The
one.
Invenergy McAdoo Energy Center.
And
And then
that
this is
one.
called the Spur Volunteer Fire Department, Dickens County Courthouse. Yeah.
This is the one we want.
They do the session.
And I'm not interested in even ones that want pocket for savings. Like, I don't think
That'll
it makes
be-
sense.
So those will be the low, pretty much, the only one that had a little bit was at 7B, but their percentages are so small. And then they did a 25-75, I think, so it kind of balanced out, that's why I got such a high score on price of fees. But they're the ones who are building the whole wings, tractor supply, car washes, that's, there was no school, so he wrote.
Please don't work out here. So, you know, what is that doc on the decision from
That operates, that was something to see. What did Steve say? An operates, do you remember?
Think here. He, trying to remember the comment, the way he phrased things, I'm gonna paraphrase it. Here's the way I interpreted what he was saying. Yeah, average or better. That's my interpretation.
$7%. That would be, they think they could make 10% estimated total, 350,000.
Which one you looking at?
That's what, so 10% 5 million would be their cost, and then
The other part, that's what they think that they can build it for.
no, that 7% is what they're gonna charge.
That's their
Money.
that's their take home
That's
money.
what we're paying them.
Oh, okay.
To be the CMR.
And for what it's worth, I mean, a year ago, when you were looking at this and you only had one person, the construction manager listed 6% as his take home, and so did the architect, 6% as their take home.
The architect's still in the same spot.
I noticed this one lists Benjamin Phase 1. Did Benjamin have a Phase 2?
I think it's in the field and
And-
athletic.
Didn't they build their track?
They're
first.
doing the same company, then they're
Doing
doing
the
the
building,
track.
'cause they didn't have the concession, they didn't have bathrooms done. And all that
I thought they
stuff.
built the football field and track first, and now they're working on their school field.
But with the same like they stuck with the
Evident-
company.
yeah, evident.
Okay.
Structural change.
And I don't know how they're funding. I'm assuming that they're funding with, bonds.
I think that's long. It's like-
I would assume.
Our football field made the Tyler book.
Oh,
And somebody, one of them put our water tower on the front of their, who is that? Integrity, they put the James Water Tower on.
That's the one from Georgia.
Um,
Or-
Allen,
no, Admiral. Oh, yeah,
Allen,
Allen.
one from Allen. Yeah, and Inthorn, I think, put our football concession stand on in there, the picture of it.
Oh, yeah, that's one I recognize. Remember I saying, I heard that name when I looked at the picture, like, I think Steve, like, a lot more work with these guys then.
Does our architect have a good relationship with certain ones of these that he likes to work with? Some he don't want to work with?
He indicated that he was, don't let me mistake things, he was very comfortable with Tyner.
He said any
Comfortable
of
with
the
Collier.
top, he said any of the top three, he said, we'll do a great job. And it's pretty much what he left us with. Of course, we know the, football field, they're pretty good, looks good.
They still have the football.
Not that they had a lot of it, the only thing that really was reputation.
Yeah, you can't go any higher than football.
So,
Because you're higher than what you are.
this is the ranking matrix that the attorney sent to me, which is basically the same thing that you're looking at. I mean, I transposed it into this spreadsheet for us to run the calculation. But on the resolution, if you all decide that you want to pass the resolution, of course, it's fully lawyer language. Whereas, but the bottom line is, we'll stipulate the top four. Because what you're doing is you would be authorizing me to start with number one, see if I can strike a deal with them and then go, or then move to number two. One of the reasons you all gave, Scott the authority a year ago, or the spring, a year ago, I guess, you gave him the authority to strike a deal with the only person you had. And he and Brad, as Scott would look at what Brad produced, and then Scott would talk to the attorney would go, I don't know if you're ready to sign that. And so that's why I found no signed documents. Because the attorney was telling Scott, not yet, it's not yet. And so there was never any contract signed. That's why the work never started, but also, part of the problem, I guess, you would say, is that, the bond failed too. So when there was no money to fund the project, then brakes got in.
What was that guy's name? Brad, did he put in?
Brad McNeil.
Did he put in?
Brad, well, I told Brad when we decided we were gonna start over, I let Brad know, I said, we're gonna start over and do it again, I'll let you know when we put the RFP out. And he said, okay, and then last week he indicated to me, both me and Stephen Rule, the architect, that he didn't think he was gonna submit a proposal for the CMAR, although he had struck a deal with one of these folks to provide the turf work as a subcontractor.
Okay, one more. I'm not gonna say one more question because I
No,
usually have more than
no,
one.
ask all you want, it's a lot of money.
If there's a 0 on past relationship with owner, does that mean there's not a relationship or there's a bad relationship?
Not one.
Okay.
Nothing for us to go on.
Not the only one that can speak to that was Stephen.
I mean, we had local experience with Tyner. We had some local experience with Henthorn. And I don't think any of the other ones, anybody in the room had
Georgia.
I mean, anybody from Jacob had local experience, yeah. And you know, those out of state, I mean, I think what they would do is pick a superintendent and say, move to Texas and start taking bids on subcontractors and see if you can do the job. Whatever we make, we make. I think that's the way they would do it. I don't believe for a minute they'd be moving a bunch of people and equipment to Georgia. I don't think.
That's why I haven't had enough time to look through all that, because we looked all at for 2 hours, that's 2.5 hours, and there's a lot of stuff. We did go through almost all these books, pretty thorough.
And I'm fine if y'all wanna keep them and stew on it for weeks, it's okay with me.
At first glance, I'm hearing that we've got experience with Tyner and it was good experience with them. I'm seeing that Collier kept being called back to Dickens County, and I don't think they would have returned for the fire station if they had a bad rap on the Dickens County courthouse and then FAR, that's the other one in the top 3, right? I'm seeing lots of school experience, which I know school people talk, and so I don't know that they would keep being hired back if there were concerns in school experience there, so. At a glance, I'm not uncomfortable with those 3.
One more thing too, I keep throwing things in, by law, you don't have to go with the top rank. And anytime a school board goes for bids, they take the bids, they look at them, and then the way the law reads is you go with the bidder that you think affords the best product outcome for the district. You don't have to take the low number, you don't have to take the shiniest book, you get to pick who you want to pick. So if one of those, for instance, if one of those contractors, let's say SCG, even though they didn't score all that well, if you really felt strongly about wanting them to get the deal because of their, for instance, their belief in social equity or something, whatever. You could go with it. You can pick whoever you want. I guess it's not point.
Looks like the SCG is the only ones that build their own fields, like turf wise. I can tell.
Yeah, is that the one that had done the professional and college fields?
Yeah, that's when I saw that had done some big stadium. But I don't know what that is.
I think they had a They had a savings split 25-75, so. We just kind of strayed from some of the savings splits because they're gonna cut corners, they're gonna save money. Cause the more they save, they're gonna get to put it in their pocket.
How do you score low on the second category, reputation and experience of the CMAR, a CMAR? Because not everybody uses the CMARs.
Right, and a lot of those numbers, we kind of relied on Stephen's
Okay.
familiarity with, some of
The
these folks.
superintendents and he knew quite a few of them. What did he say? A superintendent will
Or make or break the project.
make or break the project, it'll be your construction. person.
And what in ranch talk, and superintendent's the wagon boss, or in oil field talk, I guess it's the pusher, that it's the one that makes things happen.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah, just like any other construction project. You can have something cheap, fast, or quality, is that right?
Yeah.
But you can't have all three.
Right, right. Right. Yeah.
And I kind of remember when Mr. Tubb was here, he always had good experiences with Tyner. He spoke highly of him.
So what happens in a project like this if and when something starts to tip over the bid price? Then do they have to come to you to?
Well, and that's part of the stipulation, on that. When you say construction manager at risk, then that means that company, entity starts paying a penalty for each $1 above your price or each day past your deadline. That's why I call it at risk, because they share in some of the liability. At Guthrie, when my first day on the job, I asked Mr. Harrell, what are the performance clauses? He said, there are none. It's construction manager, not at risk. So the whole time I was there, I felt like I was kicking people in the butt, pushing to finish on time and under budget, because they had no incentive to finish on time and under budget, because they were not at risk at all. And at the end of the day, the price tag is not gonna be that different, whether you're a construction manager not at risk, construction manager at risk, or general contractor. I mean, at the end of the day, pretty much what you pay is gonna be the same amount. But like with those on that savings split, you know, so they save you $500,000 and then they take 80% of that, you still end up paying the same amount, approximately the same amount for your project.
And so when you showed us, you know, that we would rank these in order, that you would begin the negotiations, what can you imagine would be something you get into the negotiation and all of a sudden it's a deal breaker?
Well, for instance, last year, I have been told that when Scott was trying to negotiate with Brad, he never could get him hemmed up on a price tag. How much are the bleachers gonna cost? How much is the concession stand gonna cost? How much is the turf gonna, and they never could get firm number. What they call it in the lingo is a GPM, GMP, guaranteed maximum price. And so the company provides you, I think, we can do the bleachers for this, the concession stand for this, the bathrooms for this, the turf for this, the fences for this. Guaranteed maximum price would be $5 million or thereabout. Okay, we got a deal. And so last year, they could not come to terms on that. I don't know. I have I have some suspicions about why they couldn't come to terms. But they couldn't come to terms, so that's why the documents never got signed. And that's another thing to consider when we're looking at these people. Especially those that you've done business with before. I mean, all you gotta do is look, and all you gotta do is talk to people that have dealt with them. And say, you know, they do good work. They show up, who was it? Talking about, I guess it was the group that was out here when they were working on this, that show up at 10 in the morning and leave at 1 in the afternoon. So that doesn't lend itself to finishing the project and all that. But I know when, Earl Jarrett was at Spur and they built those domes. And they contracted on those domes. The crews that they contracted with came out of Utah. They were all Mormons. And they were working when the sun came up and they were still working when the sun went down every day. I mean, they showed up and worked can to can, got her done. Not everybody does that. I don't know if that's a Mormon thing or not.
It's a minute.
I know people.
I'm comfortable with that ranking. I think we did a lot, and I think Andy was pretty comfortable with it. I trust you and your expertise, your knowledge. The time you've been doing this, I know you did it again through the painful way, and I know you'll do it the easy way this time, and the right way. Cause I think Overbowl was kind of the project manager over that concession stand, cause he was running out there calling them.
No,
It's leaking, or the vent's not working,
he
or,
had to be because superintendent showed up.
yeah. So he was having to be the superintendent of the school and the building
Right.
construction.
But on that price fee deal, I don't ever remember anything coming in under budget. So there's no money left to split up. They're always over budget and past the date. Just like Hinthorn, they were 60 days past this entrance, I think.
Yeah.
But they had better lawyers than we did and they got out of it. They didn't pay us nothing back.
Yeah.
And it's all in their, not this contract, but it's in the one that we'll sign to build it. None of them are gonna come in under budget.
Well, and you know, and for instance, on our houses, and I like John. And he told me in March, we'll be able to turn them over to you on April 1st. Well, it's now March the 19th, May the 19th, and still kind of waiting on that. And I mentioned Ray can probably attest to some similar experience. Good guy, and I think he's trying. But
Well, that's kind of why we signed, and was it a GMR, GMP?
GMP, guaranteed maximum price.
Guaranteed
Yeah.
max price, that's, once they get there, they go over, they're kind of being a construction manager, risk, they're liable for that.
We've done it on the concession stand out there, and they'll have a weather clause where, well, so many days of rain. and-
Right,
and
right,
then-
yeah. Correct.
Well,
It
they're
rains for 2 days, we get 3 days off.
3 weeks behind because of the weather.
Sure.
Well, they couldn't get concrete, so that's not their fault.
Well, you know, and one of the things right now.
They had so much stuff.
And I don't know how in the world they would factor it. I mean, how in the world can they factor the impact of the tariff stuff? I mean,
Yeah, that'd be.
I mean, well, like on the lighting, you were talking about, or the aluminum for the bleachers, or, you know, there's some of that stuff, they're just kind of crossing their fingers and saying, you know, today's price, yeah, we think we can do it. But some of that stuff is kind of out of their control. I know that.
I don't have any reason to be uncomfortable with those rankings.
No, I feel like the top 3 are the ones that.
Well, they do a lot of stuff
Yeah.
in schools, they're pretty sharp.
They all have like the 0% to their cube and
Yeah.
worked out here before.
Yeah.
Was local to, yeah, so.
Well, and that was the point I made with the group today, like in Tyner, and again, I don't even know anybody that works at Tyner, I don't guess. But they've been here.
Yeah.
They know how far out we are. They know what it takes to get here. And getting all their stuff here and back and their people.
That superintendent from Tyner, he's from Matador.
Oh, he is?
He's a good dude, and he's out there every day. And I did visit with him, just going out there and get air conditioning up there in the press box.
Yeah.
Everybody talk up there and working on something. Well, if y'all are comfortable with it, I will make a motion to approve, let Mr. Coulter look for a CMR and start working and dealing with them.
Okay, so, here's, since I'm the secretary tonight, here's the language, I will write in the minutes if you approve of the motion in this form.
Well, we need a resolution regarding ranking and selecting a construction manager
Right.
at risk for the softball, baseball complex.
Yes, and we also, because I showed you that the ranking has to show up in that resolution.
Write those in the note.
Yeah, I'll write those in the notes in the order of Tyner, number 1, Farrar, number 2, Collier, number 3, and Integrity, number 4. I'll include that in the motion, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Because that's what the motion doing is giving me the authority to begin negotiations, starting at the top of that list, working down. So motion by Scott.
We will need a motion to approve. I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Will you second it? All in favor? All in favor?
Okay, thank you very much. Whew. Sorry, I knew that was gonna be a little painful. Y'all can take those things home with you if you want to. No, kidding. All right, we're going now.
Next, we're going to,
Question real quick. So on the top 4, if you get to making some calls and number 3 said, oh, we just got a big job in
Right.
Dallas, we can't, or wherever.
Right.
But
So there's-
this is saying they're committed, right? Or this proposal?
Well,
Kind of.
no, I mean, because the negotiation can fall apart on either side of the table,
Okay.
you know, I mean, so.
So we can always pick number 5 to, or.
Oh, yeah, but what we do is we come back, I mean, we do it in a subsequent board meeting.
Okay.
Because all you're doing is giving me the authority to negotiate with 1 through 4. And if for some reason or other, it falls apart, then we need to back up and take a look at the next folks in the file. You know, and they might do their homework on me and decide there's no way we're gonna work with that guy.
everybody good? Next, we'll look at 3C action item memorandum of understanding with Kent County Nursing Home regarding transportation service in case of catastrophe.
Yeah, that's not a tricky one. When I was at the nursing home visiting my dad a couple of weeks ago, Nathan caught me in the hall and he said, I'm filling out federal paperwork and trying to check boxes, and we have to have an agreement with somebody locally that has transportation vehicles large enough to get all of our residents out quickly in case of some kind of an emergency gas leak or something like that. And he said, so y'all are it? Will you strike a memorandum of understanding so we can use your buses to evacuate our people if we need to evacuate our people? And I said, it'll require school board approval, because I don't have the authority to strike that agreement, but I'll put it on the agenda. But I don't, there's no rattlesnake there that
Anybody got any questions on that one? I think it's pretty straightforward. We will need a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with Kent County Nursing Home regarding transportation service in case of catastrophe. Matt makes a motion. Kenzie seconds it. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Next will be a discussion item, termination of a 313 agreement with Clearway for third solar field.
Yeah, this is, in fact, I had an email in today. this company had struck a deal with you all for 3 solar fields. 2 of them they built and are in operation. And those 313 agreements are just sort of deferred taxation. That's the easiest way I can think of it. Lacey, you can rephrase that if you want to. It's basically when they're building these projects, you don't charge them the full value of that property until they're up and running. So you kind of defer the taxation piece, but they pay you a little cash up front, like to make you happy. And so I got an email from this company about, well, right after our last board meeting. And they said, we built 2 fields, they're up and running, you're making money, you're getting money off of them. We've actually experienced more revenue off of them than we were anticipating, I think. Is that right?
Well, I mean, their value is high in their first couple of years in operation, and then it considerably drops off after that.
Okay, yeah. And I think I've heard you say a dollar amount that of revenue that
We received 3.1 maybe. I have to look back and budgeted 2.5 for that. We
Yeah.
didn't know for sure the amount.
Okay, and that'll be part of the budget amendments later, or we've already done that, haven't we?
It was in this year's budget.
Okay. But bottom line is, they emailed me about 3 weeks ago and said, we're pulling the plug on that 3rd field. So we need to talk about terminating that 313 agreement that we had with you all. So I called the attorney and, Backus said, we'll put our 313 specialist on it, Fred Stormer. So he's in the process of negotiating with them, whatever the agreement to say, okay. We understand you're not gonna finish the project, and we understand that our agreement with you is now null and void. I talked to Fred and I talked to Lacey about it. I mean, it didn't seem right to me that we would hold a gun to their head and demand the cash that they were gonna give us because they're pulling the plug on their project. Fred and I talked back and forth about it, and so I finally gave him permission. I said, yeah, you can negotiate for some, but to me, it's not important for us to get $50,000 out of their pocket if they're pulling the plug on their project. I mean, clearly, they don't think it's gonna be a moneymaker, or they'd be doing it. I suspect, I don't know this, that it's tied up in the new federal administration pulling away incentives for green energy stuff. That's just a guess. I might be wrong. But bottom line is, their business people are looking down the road and saying, this thing's not gonna make us money. And so.
Well, I remember the first talks with them when they came, they were unsure at that time that they could get the financing for Solar Nova 3.
Oh,
And
okay,
they knew they had it for 1 and 2.
gotcha.
And so I remember them saying at that time, we hope, but Solar Nova 3 may not come to be.
Okay, good information. And a similar thing happened to me at Guthrie. We had a company that was trying to gather investment money for a big combination project of solar, wind, and deep water brine. And they had this scheme going where they were gonna marry those 3 things together and make $1 billion. And they couldn't get the investment money. They talked to the 4 school districts in Kent, Knox, King, and Stonewall County, but we didn't have investment money. We were gonna let them build it and make money, but it didn't happen. Okay, too much talk on my part. That's what that's about.
Those 2 phases they have, that's gonna stay in operation, is that correct?
They're
Yeah,
on.
Okay.
yeah, they're running and making money.
Next will be discussion item 25-26 budget development.
Yeah, so Lacey and I have been having conversations about that. Next month, we'll put our nose as a group to this a little more earnestly. As I mentioned to y'all before, in all school districts, 85% of the money you spend is on people, on payroll. And our legislature is meeting in Austin right now, and they're debating both the big state budget and they're debating the school finance budget, which will have everything to do with how much money we have to pay teachers. So the things that, it's almost meaningless for us to talk too much about budget until we know what the legislature is gonna do. But by next month, we should be able to put some real numbers in front of you. And say, okay, this is what we think, we're gonna spend on function 11, function 13, function 23, function 41, all that stuff. But it's all driven, it's all premised on what's your payroll. Everything flows from that. Bond consideration. You ready to go to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I drove out of my lane, sorry.
No, you're good.
So I sent you all an email a couple of weeks ago, I think, sometime or another when I wasn't sleeping. This is, tonight is a continuation of what we think we might and might not want to put in a bond measure. And I refined my thoughts and put them to you in that red and blue stuff. And now I've reorganized those and put them in the two batches, the ones that seem like pretty reasonable things to ask our voters for, and then these things down in the bottom that I think if we want to do them, we've got the money through other means to do them. And so, here's, and I'm gonna, when I get through jabbering, I'm gonna invite your feedback and conversation. The fleet refresh, I think, is a good one. I wish that last November it had been separated from that softball, baseball thing, because I think it would have passed easily had it been. That's not an indictment of you all, it's just, hindsight's always clearer. But if you all think that's worthy, and the good news is, if we put that as a bond measure, that money can be, the permanent school fund can't be used to buy rolling stock. But if you have a bond measure that passes, the permanent school fund can be used to pay off the bond. So it's sort of a circumvent, it's a hack, but it's a way for us to get to the permanent school fund. If you all think that's something you want to do, what I'll come back with you in a month or at the June meeting is a 3-year plan specific to, I think we would need to buy these vehicles in year 1, these vehicles year 2, these vehicles year 3. So, and to be very specific with the price tags as good as we know them at the moment. And whatever we decide about bond, I would like for us to be pretty firm about what we think we want to do in July. So I can begin talking to the bond bankers and we can start putting the puzzle pieces in place to get on the ballot and be very clear about what we're going to do, how we think we'll, the bankers got their nose on that a lot. The houses, 2 to 4 new houses, possibly. That seems like a reasonable undertaking. One of the conversations I've had, and I think you all have been in the practice of doing it, when you've been building new houses, is taking some of your oldest ones and unloading them. So you get out from under the maintenance costs of an older stuff. And it also gives people in the community the opportunity to buy some homes. The stickiest one for me is the auditorium. Right now, we have just under 500 seats. The thing is about 54 feet wide and about, I don't know where I count, 100 feet long. We got room out there where that, behind the building where that, we moved that house. Nathan bought that house and moved it off. We could build a new auditorium and performing arts center there if we wanted to. If we decide to destroy what we've got and tear it down, it's pretty tricky. That's pretty tricky where the auditorium is right now. It would be better to demolish what's now the activity, the gymnasium, the weight room and stuff, and maybe move that into the auditorium area and then get rid of that building and build an auditorium there. I just don't know. Your thoughts? And-
Last year when we looked at auditorium, Mr. Bignell said 10 million's the bottom. I was in his office one day and we talked to a guy and he's like, man, 10 million is bottom dollar you're gonna spend. And that was just kind of.
And so
We're
that's
talking about-
stopped it dead. in its
Yeah.
tracks, yeah, well, and I mean, I understand that, I don't know that we need to put a bunch of money into refurbish of the current one until we're for sure. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me to put a bunch of money in the one we've got if we're gonna build another. So to me, that's the first decision, are we gonna build another one? And if we know we are, then we'll start making plans accordingly, and I'll start doing homework and seeing what it costs people. I mean, when you walk into that one at Wiley where we had the one at play competition, I thought it's a nice spot. It's a nice spot. But it costs a lot of money. I know that.
I think a new one would be more convenient, because having a remodel going on right there by the admin and stuff. It's cheaper to build new than remodel anyway.
Well, and I'm convinced that a remodel wouldn't make us bring us to the specs that are now currently required for us to host one act play contest. When I was a principal, we hosted them all the time, and then the UIL changed the requirements on, I think, square footage on the stage and access to the back door and all that kind of stuff. So that's why we go to Aspermont all the time. Well, I guess they still have those Guthrie, so.
What would a performing arts building look like as far as besides an auditorium? Like storage for costumes and.
Yeah, right, and access in the back door, where you can back a truck up and unload your equipment, but our current auditorium's got about just under 500 seats in it. So I wouldn't think we would want to build anything with less than 500 seats in it. But, I don't know, did you go to Wiley and?
Did not.
I mean, the nice performing arts centers that, I see now are not long rectangular like Aspermont's auditorium and our auditorium. They're kind of pie shaped, and they have those, I don't know, ascending drop ceilings. They're built acoustically.
Right.
So that, a kid or a person can stand on the stage and just speak in a normal voice almost and carry throughout the place. And so it would be, I mean, it'd be a nice place for music and performances, and graduation, but pretty big price tag. But if you all think that we want to continue that conversation, what I'll do now between June and June 16th is I'll do a little homework and say, they built one here, they built one here, they built one here, and here's the price tags, and then we can decide if we want to ask the voters for that money. But I agree with you. I think, I can't imagine that we would get out for less than $10 million, but that's just a guess. And but the thing about it though, I mean, if we're talking about that property behind the school over here, we already have a parking lot. So that wouldn't be part of the deal. I mean, that's already there. You think it'd be over $10 million?
Or, because that auxiliary gym was 4.2.
I did not know that.
Something like that.
Well,
Yeah, it's like 4.2, I think it was on. It was
Auditoriums are not the most expensive thing you can build. That's why most people don't. They're way up there.
It's something they don't.
Yeah, I'm not, yes, but the price is that's what you think. I mean, they're expensive for building practice.
Okay.
I think the floor's messed up, and then in the auditorium, we're building a gym.
Get a floor out of it, maybe.
It was.
Get a floor, like you saying, the auction too, and with it.
so I guess the question that I have for you all, and again, these things that I put down in this bottom batch are not not things that I don't think are important. For instance, these state champion monuments. Josh came in my office a few weeks ago and said, the one that we have in front of the gym was about $7,000. I've talked to the guy that did it, and so the new ones are about $8,000, no, not surprisingly. But that's not a lot of money, and that is money I've visited with the commissioners and Judge Coulter. That's money that could be, the permanent school fund could be used on if we put it in a capital improvement kind of project. If we're gonna do that, though, we've got the one in front of the gym, and we've also got a state championship in football, a state championship in basketball since then, and we've got a 1984 state championship in football. We could tomorrow have a state championship in academic literary, possibly. So I'm thinking maybe we have a plaza, a little, patio of champions or plaza of champions or something where we've got all of our state monuments and then room for more if we add them as time goes by and make it a capital project. But even at that, I don't think we're talking about millions of dollars. But so I think we'll buy those. Those are going to happen. The only question is where we're going to put them. Handicap access in the gym, we have got to do something about that. I think when you watch a lot of our grandparents hobble up into those bleachers, we got to do something about that. But I don't think it's going to have a price tag that will require a bond measure. Stadium parking lot entry, this was something that one of the board members mentioned to me back during a track meeting. That we probably need an access to that back parking lot right near the tennis courts, so that people are not driving right by the shot discus ring concession area while there's a bunch of kids there. That makes sense, but I don't think that would be a huge price tag. Mr. Miller has asked me to go out and look at the water flow issue at the ag barn, and we got to do something there, but I don't think that's a deal breaker on money. And then, converting a little gym to multiple sport facility. I'm not convinced that's a good idea yet. Someone's gonna have to sell me on that one, but my question to you though is, do you want me to bring your homework back on a fleet next month?
I think we've got
Take
to.
transportation.
Okay.
We've had problems with the buses and
I'll tell you what, I'll bring homework back on all these three things and the renovation that, if we're gonna build an auditorium, to me, it makes sense that we fold a band into it and make it part of the performing arts thing. So I'll bring homework back to you. Sorry I made that last too long. This is the longest board meeting we've had. But I knew y'all were gonna slow it down.
I'm not trying to go back. I was gonna ask before we moved on to that.
Yeah.
But with the voucher system passed, have you been watching any of the legislation with the 10 million or the $10,000?
$10,000
private school?
Good, right?
We've been at 6160 since 2019.
Yeah.
Per student.
Yeah.
They're gonna get $10,000 to go to a private school. Are we surely they're gonna raise this year? I've read something about 73.40, which is up a little over $1,000 per student. Have y'all seen or heard anything on legislation? And then I've heard that somebody's gonna fight, the rural superintendents and legislatures are fighting for more,
Right?
8 to 8,500.
So I saw that, the voucher passed and the governor's crowing loudly but
Came out of hiding.
yeah, right. But that's supposedly about private school stuff. But the carrot they've been dangling all along is we're gonna give you teacher pay raises, we're gonna raise your allotment for schools.
They're running out of time.
They're running out of time, on purpose, they're running out of time.
Like 2 weeks.
But, you mentioned the rural superintendents, and I got an email today from the Texas Rural Education Association, and they're all in with this House Bill 2. They think it's gonna be a good thing. Now, not everybody thinks it's gonna be a good thing, but at least the Rural Education Association thinks it's a good thing. We'll see, and as I've mentioned to you before, property wealthy schools. I mean, I was here in 1992 when we started the Robin Hood process. And so property wealthy schools, what they've been doing is taking money away from them pretty steadily. And I've never, since 1992, I've never seen a piece of legislation
Get one back.
I mean, they change it a little, and in 1992, there was only 65 of us in the whole state that they call property wealthy. And it pretty much has been a beating of the people, mostly people in the oil patch, or with, shallow gas wells in East Texas or something. It's almost always been around minerals. But when the property values in those high-end suburbs like Highland Park and, Allen, Texas, and started being impacted, the conversation began to change, but there's now, I think, 300 schools in the state of Texas that are considered property wealthy, which means they take money from them to give away to other schools. But that conversation changed significantly about 10 years ago when Houston turned from property poor to property wealthy. When Houston ISD shifted, then the political power began to shift away from, it became a little less Robin Hood, I guess is what I'm saying. We still pay recapture, but it kind of modified it a little bit. I'm telling you more than you want to know. So, to answer your question, it sounds like the rural schools are for what's going on in the legislature at the current moment. I'm skeptical that we as a property wealthy district are gonna see any windfall from it. And we don't have any political power. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the oil patch, we generate a lot of money. But we don't have a lot of representatives when it comes time to vote for stuff. So I don't know. That was a long answer to say, I don't know.
Okay, what were we talking about?
Yeah, right. That's what professors do. They just talk a lot. Maybe not.
Okay, sorry, I was just
No, it's
wondering if
fine.
you had heard anything. Next update, the summer work schedule.
Yeah, I sent that to you all the other day, and that went out to, faculty and staff, and that's pretty common in schools these days. When you get the instructional year, it'll move to a 4-day work week, for the summer months, so. That's all I've got. Unless you've got something for me.
Anybody have anything else?
Okay,
We'll need them.
I'll keep you informed on the important stuff. I think you know that. There's stuff that I think you might get caught at church or something. And I'll let you know as this CMAR thing, the train begins to roll now. I'll let you know what's going on. So you'll be aware. Thank you all for your service. I appreciate it. Sorry I burned up 2 of your hours today, but my goal is to be out in an hour and a half or less. I knew about that.
Okay, we will need a motion to adjourn. That makes a motion to adjourn. Second. Cody seconds it, all in favor?
Who made the motion?
Matt made a motion.
Matt?
Cody seconded it. All in favor?
Okay.